Hello! Welcome to Andre Knows Everything. I'm Andre. My name is Andre Morton. I'm a comedian. I like to learn things, but I don't know everything. I don't know anything, actually. So I'm going to take you on a ride on this podcast to learn stuff just by using the internet in about an hour. So we're not going to learn much, but we're going to learn a little bit about a different topic each and every week. And you're going to help. Join me on my podcasting journey by commenting down below and letting me know things that I didn't discuss on the episode, that I should know, that you think I know, that you think I'm dumb, that you hate me, that you don't like me, all that stuff. Leave it in the comments, and we'll talk about it. Thanks, and enjoy the show. Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Andre Knows Everything, Episode 2. Last week, I talked about the police. I learned a lot during my episode and after. In fact, about 6 hours after my episode aired, John Oliver came out with a Last Week Tonight on the police, which is basically like a much more condensed, studied, focused, eloquent version of this podcast. So I recommend you go watch it because it's a lot more detailed and entertaining and informative than this show. But I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're sticking around. We're talking about something completely different today. As much as I kind of want to continue talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and things like that, that's not what I entailed this podcast to be. When I first started creating it, I really do just kind of want to learn about fun things and silly things and say silly stuff while I'm doing it. So that's kind of what I'm going to do today. Today is a much more ridiculous topic, but it is a serious issue that is affecting people in our country. Today, I am talking about incels. Incels. These are people, men most of the time. Let's start looking into the dictionary definition of what an incel is. I've got two. All right, I've got the Wikipedia version, and I've also got the Urban Dictionary version. Let's go with the Urban Dictionary version first, just because I think that'll be a little bit more informative. Okay, an incel, aka involuntarily celibate person, usually male, who has a horrible personality and treats women like sex objects and thinks his lack of a sex life comes from being ugly, when it is really just his blatant sexism and terrible attitude. Wow, there's a lot of editorializing in this Urban Dictionary version of the definition. So incels are basically, in my opinion, creepy fucks who don't get sex and therefore think it's okay to completely hate and belittle women. And I kind of see their activity I go on Reddit a lot, and I see them there in the comments or in the thread of nice guys that they're just there and being gross and being creepy and letting their dicks make all of their decisions for them, basically. Let's read the Wikipedia article on it and see if I can give you a more less biased version of the definition. Incels, a portmanteau of involuntary celibates, are a member of an online subculture who define themselves as unable to find a romantic or sexual partner despite desiring one. Discussions in incel forums are often characterized by resentment, misogyny, misanthropy, self-pity, and self-loathing, racism, a sense of entitlement to sex, and the endorsement of violence against sexually active people. It's like, it kind of reminds me of being like 14 and knowing what sex is, but not having it and wanting it really bad. But then it also reminds me of when you're like 6 and like somebody has a toy that you want, and so you just rage about it. You just go off. You start knocking stuff off of things. You're mad. You're kicking stuff. You're furious about it, and it's just be like, yo, you didn't earn that. You don't get to have that just because it exists. It's the mentality of a child, of a mean child, a bad child, straight up. So just to give a little bit more background on me, I consider myself a feminist nowadays. In that I believe in the equality of women and that they're not necessarily treated as equals today, right now. And I've started considering myself that quite a few years ago, after around college, I suppose. I just started hanging out with a lot more women on a day-to-day basis, uh, while at the same time not trying actively to fuck those women. That's the thing. Oh, let me make it clear again that this show is not for kids. YouTube asks me that question every time I upload a video. This is not meant for kids. This is going to be a very sexually, topically defined show, I guess. There's going to be a lot of sex talk on this episode. So get out of here if you don't want to hear. If you don't hear anything about that. The concept of incels interests me because when I was younger, when I was in my high school teenage years, I was not having sex, and I was pretty upset about it. Honestly, it felt belittling to me that all of these dudes around me were hanging out with girls, and I assume having sex with them, and I wasn't. They made me upset, made me mad. But at the same time, what freaks me out about incels the most is how violent they are. As much as I was upset, as much as I was angry and frustrated when I was a teenager, I did have sex as a teenager. I lost my virginity at 19. Great day. Oh, fantastic day. Despite all the anger and frustration I felt, I never even had the thought of inciting violence because of my frustrations. And I never thought of, like, hating women like it was their fault that I wasn't attractive or that I wasn't charming enough or that I was even taking chances. I also wasn't asking any women out, you know? I probably got rejected 2 or 3 times throughout the entirety of the 4 years of high school because I just didn't have the courage to, like, step up and speak my feelings or whatever to any of these ladies who I was trying to get with. My intentions were bad. They were like, hey, I want to experience what sex is like. Do you want to do that with me? It wasn't like, hey, I'm trying to love you forever, girl. So, that being said, these kinds of guys, like, really scare me because the way that they get inducted into this incel subculture is basically all through the internet. They go on Reddit, they go on Tumblr, they go on TikTok or Instagram or wherever they go. They congregate and they rag on women and rag on their experiences with women, and it just builds up into, like, all women are sluts. You know, that's specifically a thing that I think I saw in here at one point. And it really bothers me because I think if I had been introduced to something like this on the internet when I was that age and that frustrated, I may have started describing myself as one of these types of people. And maybe that violence would have been incited in my brain. And that really upsets me. That scares me for, like, our youth. That it's as easy as you're a horny teenage boy, which almost all teenage boys are, super duper horny. And just the fact that you've been slighted maybe once, or you went after the wrong person, or any of the millions of scenarios that can happen in high school. Anything happens like that, and you immediately turn down this violent road. The incels kind of look up to a couple of dudes who have committed, like, mass shootings with the purpose of them being against women, and we will get to that because I don't know all the details. I vaguely remember them happening at the time, but we shall see. So I'm going to look a little bit through this Wikipedia article, and then I'm going to get into some more editorial articles that I found on The Guardian and Vox, and then we'll see where the rabbit hole takes us. I want to learn more about these freaky weirdo creeps who prey upon women and think rape is okay. All right, here we go. Incels. The American nonprofit Southern Poverty Law Center described the subculture of incels as part of the online male supremacist ecosystem that is included in their list of hate groups. Incels are mostly male and heterosexual. Many sources report that incels are predominantly white, although a group of researchers have argued that there is no definitive proof to support this claim. Estimates over the overall size of the subculture vary greatly, ranging from thousands to hundreds of thousands. Hundreds of thousands of these. I can't stop calling them creeps. And maybe I should look into some of their actual behavior before I continue. Oh wait, here it comes. It says, at least 6 mass murders, resulting in a total of 44 deaths, have been committed since 2014 by men who have either self-identified as incels or had mentioned incel-related names and writings in their private writings or internet postings. Incel communities have been criticized by the media and researchers for being misogynistic, encouraging violence, spreading extremist views, and radicalizing their members. Beginning in 2018, the incel ideology has increasingly been described as a terrorism threat, and a February 2020 attack in Toronto, Canada, became the first instance of allegedly incel-related violence to be persecuted as an act of terrorism. Terrorism. People legitimately get upset about Muslims because their religion has sparked off, several little subsects of people who commit terror acts, right? Just like Christianity has, and I don't know if I know about any Jewish terrorists, but religion can tend to do that. It can spark off extremists easily. But these dudes aren't relying on a religion at all. It's all about their sexual feelings. And who has more sexual feelings than horny teenage boys? Everyone has sexual feelings. All right, let's keep going. Wait, this is their ideology. Black pill, lexicology, demographics, female incels. Okay, wait. Let's just read a little bit of this. Many incel communities are characterized by resentment, self-pity, racism, misogyny, misanthropy, and narcissism. Discussions often revolve around the belief that men are entitled to sex. Other common topics include idleness, loneliness, unhappiness, suicide, sexual surrogates, and prostitutes, as well as various attributes they believe increase one's desirability as a partner, such as income or personality. Opposition to feminism and women's rights is a commonplace, and some posters blame women's liberation for their inability to find a partner. Some incels believe that there was a golden age in which couples married early were strictly monogamous and adhered to traditional gender roles, and that looks played less of a role in romantic pairings, and men's entitlement to sex with women which was never denied. So that's like a big thing with incels is how much sex they're having and how easily they can get it, because according to them, it's been incredibly difficult to obtain sex. And once again, just to distance myself from incels, I am a married man. My wife is at work right now, doing the damn thing, earning and burning just as much as me, and I love her very much. And I'm not going to talk about our sex lives right now, but it happens. Okay, I get it in. And I've had sex before her and whatnot. I just want to say that sex is very important to me. I'm all about it, But to these dudes, sex is the most important thing, I think, and they put it so incredibly high on their list of priorities that everything else kind of falls away. I think they're almost addicted to the idea of sex rather than the actual practice of it. They're so dumb that they don't even know what they want, They just want to get their nut, and they think that the whole world should crumble if they don't get it. These fucking idiots are insane. All right, let's keep going. Some discussions endorse suicide among incels, violence against sexually active women, and more sexually successful men. Oh, hey, and harassment of women, including activities such as catfishing. So wait, y'all are gonna come after me just for cause I be getting it, you know? Hit it once, hit it twice. All right. I didn't even think about if some of y'all fucking weirdo creeps were gonna be watching this video. So let's go down that avenue. You know, I'm a very open-minded individual. No matter the amount of times that I've called you weirdos and creeps, in the little amount of time that I've been talking about you thus far, I want to say that I'm sorry that you feel this way. You know, I'm sorry that this is the avenue that you've chosen to take down with your life, that you're spending this much time thinking about this because things haven't necessarily worked out for you. You know, that sucks. That's rough. And things are not going well in your love life / sex life. And that's a problem. I would advise you to learn more about women, because that's what you're interested in. That's what you want. You want women. And you think that by belittling them or bashing them or taking advantage of them is the only way that you can get them to love you and or like you or touch you. And that's not the truth, even in the slightest. I have had many many platonic friendships with women, and they are some of the most treasured friendships that I have. I love them so much, and they offer me so much value. And I don't think I ever would have known that had I started having sex at a super young age. You know, I'm very glad that I that I involuntarily waited until I found the right person to lose my virginity to. Because in that time, I was able to build and develop relationships with women that didn't circle completely around sex. So I got to see them as people and not sex objects. And I thank them very much for that. You know, my homies, my buddies. So if you're an incel watching this video and you're offended by all of the shit that I'm going to continue to talk throughout this episode, I encourage you to just try some of it out, you know? try to hate women a little bit less and see them as people. You know, find a good lady friend. I don't know if I should be encouraging you to go accost women with your friendship either. Let's move on to a bigger piece here. Let's see here. Why do we only care about incels when they are men? Aha. So that's another thing, is that most of the time, like 90% of the time, incels are men, heterosexual men, like it said. But they aren't only men. And I think there's a little bit about female incels on this site. The first incel website, Alana's Involuntary Celibate Project, was gender inclusive. There are present-day women-specific forums such as r/femcells and r/foreveralonewomen. Nevertheless, there is disagreement in online incel communities on whether women can be incels, with some claiming that male incels grossly outnumber female incels, others claiming that it is impossible for a woman to be an incel at all, others claiming that only women with a physical deformity can be incels, Jesus Christ, and others arguing that only unattractive women belonging to the bottom percentile in terms of appearance can be incels. These dudes are hilarious, okay? They're like,
I can't have sex because nobody likes me and I'm ugly and no one's ever going to want to touch my penis.
and then a girl comes up and she's like,
Me too. I am also ugly and no man will ever want to touch my vagina.
and they're like,
No, fuck you.
impossible. You can go fuck somebody right now, including me. You're not an incel. You couldn't be. We couldn't possibly team up and join forces to stop all of this from happening by just fucking each other. No. Get out of here. Let's see what else it says. Tens of thousands of self-identifying female incels are reported to populate the internet. Their most popular site is r/TrueFemcells on Reddit, with over 22,000 members. Journalists have written that outside of the female incels' own communities, few believe women can genuinely experience involuntary celibacy. Some female incels believe they could have casual sex, but fear it would only be from men who would abuse or disrespect them. Right. Like, there's women who don't want to have sex. Like they could bag a man, as it were, but they're afraid that either their own self-worth or their attractiveness or any other factors could lead to the man that they choose, that would choose them, could only be abusive in power. And I'm sure that has been true for their experience in the past, and that's why they describe themselves as female incels. All of y'all's incellery is very sad to me. You know, I think that everyone deserves love and affection and the chance to have as many sexual experiences as they want to have in their lifetime. And I feel like you guys are just lacking some basic skills to be able to go out and do that. And who believe you me, I was lacking in those skills for a long time, even well after I had sex. It was a lot. But it's so interesting now thinking back on it, back on that time when I was so frustrated and thinking that I would be alone forever, to how like happy I am now and how satisfied I am now. It can happen. It can go there for you. I think no matter what you look like. I think if some of y'all focused your attention into different communities, if you stopped focusing so much on who's going to bang me and focus more on like, what do I like? What do I like about myself? What do I like about the world? What activities do I enjoy? And who are the people that I can share those activities with? And then you can start to build and form a connection or whatever, You gotta put yourself out there if you want love. And putting yourself out there with these other people who are just as sad and lonely and dejected and angry as you isn't necessarily going to help. If my car is breaking down and I can't drive it anymore, I should go to a mechanic and get it fixed. I shouldn't go join a group of online dudes who can't drive. And we're all just like, I can't drive. I can't do anything about it. This sucks. Okay, let's read an article. This one, Our Incel Problem. This is on Vox.com, written by Zach Beauchamp on April 23rd, 2019. It was updated on April 23rd, 2019. Our Incel Problem, how a support group for the dateless become one of the internet's most dangerous subcultures. In the late 90s, a lonely teenager on the West Coast fired up his dial-up modem to find someone to talk to. He was a shy kid, too introverted to feel fully comfortable in the real world, and he logged on to the early internet's bare-bones web forums for a sense of connection. There he found friends, other people who were awkward in real life, particularly when it came to sex and dating. Okay? It's a lot of people. The group eventually became a community, one that began using a phrase to describe their romantic troubles, involuntary celibacy. Later, the term would get shortened to incel. The teenager, now a man who uses the handle reformed incel to keep his internet history out of his offline life, recalls the online incel world of the 1990s and 2000s fondly. It was a welcoming place, one where men who didn't know how to talk to women could ask the community's female members for advice and vice versa. It was, he told me, kind of an SJU community. Social Justice Warrior is what SJU stands for. In April of 2018, about 20 years after the early incel community coalesced, a college student in Toronto named So-Hee Chung decided to walk to the library. It wasn't a short walk. The subway would have been faster, but Chung and her roommate So-Ra wanted to enjoy the sunshine. This is a long story. I was expecting a little bit more facts, but they're telling a tale. Chung and So never made it out to the library. On the way there, a van hopped to the curb. On the way there, a van hopped the curb onto the sidewalk and slammed into pedestrians. Chung was one of 10 killed. So was one of 16 wounded. The van's driver was a self-described incel, but the community today would not be recognizable to those who built it in decades earlier. Today's incels are almost entirely men and boys who pollute their online forums with posts blaming women for their sexist lives. Some posters even celebrated Chung's killer the day of the attack, calling for other incels to follow up with acid attacks and mass rape. What was once an open-minded support group had degenerated into a place where praise for mass killers was tolerated and even normalized. Rage, Reformed Incel says, has completely taken over. What the fuck? What are you talking about? This dude jumped the curb and just ran into a group of people, and then other dudes were like, hell yeah, I'm into it. This is a terrorist group. If one dude does something terrible to women and then another 10 dudes are like, let's all go do something similar, that it's a fucking virus. It's awful. Holy shit. I mean, I knew it was like that, but I didn't. It's hard reading that shit out loud. In the years since Toronto, I've followed the incel movement closely, reading its websites and subreddits regularly. I've spoken with more than a dozen current and former incel forum posters, including 2 site administrators, and acquired logs of an incel chat room from around the time of the Toronto attack. What I found is more than just a community twisted into a grotesque parody of its original shape. I found a story of how the deepest prejudices in a society can take purchase in new settings due to technology, transforming not only online spaces, but real lives and potentially even the trajectory of our politics. Right. If these dudes can commit to a mass groundswell of voting in incel policies or whatever, or policies that harm women, I mean, if there are hundreds of thousands of them and they keep growing in number, they could effectively take over the world. I don't think they will, because they can't even have sex. I mean, you guys aren't that powerful. But they can cause damage, absolutely, for sure. That's creepy. Let's move on a little bit. Who are the incels? Talking about one guy. Okay, let's read this. Abe, not his real name, has dealt with loneliness for a long time. 19 today, he still recalls a 9th birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese's where none of the classmates he invited showed up. His mom cried while he distracted himself with arcade games. In young adulthood, Abe developed a crush on his female best friend. When he finally got the nerve to ask her out, she said yes, and they dated for a month. But during that time, she cheated on Abe with her ex and eventually got engaged to him. Rough city, Abe. It was a crushing blow, and Abe turned to the internet for support. He found incel communities on Reddit, ones that helped reaffirm his belief that his looks were responsible for his terrible dating experience. The subreddits, he tells me, showed him how manipulative some women can be when seeking validation, that they are, in his words, emotional tampons. These dudes are so flowery about their treatment of women. I think these are the dudes who, when a woman speaks out about like a rape or sexual assault, these are the dudes who are like, she's lying. Women lie about all that kind of stuff. They're manipulators. They're liars or cheaters. They do all these crazy things that men are like completely incapable of doing. We don't do any of that stuff. Fucking what? Let's keep going. Abe still wishes he had a girlfriend. He writes about wanting simple things like baking at home with a partner or holding hands while watching a movie, but he doesn't have much hope that'll happen to him anytime soon. He spends his time posting nearly daily on Reddit, frequenting subreddits like r/braincells, which is currently one of 2 main incel forums, and r/foreveralone. Of course, nobody knows what will happen in the future, he tells me, but it looks pretty bleak for me romantically. Abe's experiences seem to be relatively typical for incels. They are overwhelmingly young men and boys with a history of isolation and rejection. They turn to the internet to make sense of their pain. A very simple and rational thing to do, you know? You get broken up with, you're like, what am do. My life is over. I better get on the internet and talk shit about that hoe. So that's what he does, and that's what I'm saying. It seems like it's so simple, so easy to become an incel. Um, the 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 way the communities are set up make it so simple for a dude who is just feeling like kind of sad and alone to jump in here, and they have all these writings about how women are bad and women are evil and women will hurt you, and there's no hope for ever having sex anyway, so we might as well take it, you know? And if you're feeling dejected at all, you just hop right into that mindset without any forethought, especially if you're super young. If these dudes are 14 and 15 getting in here, they start believing this all in their minds for years until they're in their early 20s, and they can cause real damage. They can drive their truck through a group of people. They can take a gun and go kill a bunch of people on a college campus. Let's talk about this dude. Elliot Rodger. So this is a misogynist killer. Actually, okay, let's go back to this Wikipedia article, and we can talk about Elliot Rodger. So Elliot Rodger, I remember from around 2014, he was like an incel dude who went on, I'm pretty sure it's a college campus, and murdered a whole bunch of people, and then he had like a manifesto stating how everyone's slut, and that's why he had to commit this heroic act or whatever the fuck. So let me actually read about him, so that we know. Elliot Rodger killed 6 people and injured 14 others before killing himself in Isla Vista, California on May 23, 2014, near the campus of University of California, Santa Barbara, near the campus. These killings drew media attention to the concept of involuntary celibacy, and particularly the misogyny and glorification of violence that are a mainstay of many incel communities. Rodger self-identified as an incel and left behind a 137-page manifesto and YouTube videos in which he detailed his involuntary celibacy and discussed how he wanted revenge for being rejected by women. He had been an active member of a community popular among incels called PUA Hate, short for Pickup Artist Hate, and referenced it several times in his manifesto. Although PUA Hate, that's a dumb title, Pickup Artist Hate, shut down soon after the attack, Rodger became something of a martyr to some communities that remained, and to some of those that emerged later. He has been referenced by the perpetrators or suspected perpetrators of several other mass killings, and is one of several attackers who are regularly praised by members of incel communities. Ugh. He went and killed 6 people in Isla Vista. Yuck. And he wrote a 137-page manifesto. Yuck. That's disgusting. I hate that almost as much as the murders. 137 pages. You got this many feelings on this? Publish the book, dog. Don't commit the murders. Bring in the cash flow from the book. Good God Almighty. Ugh. What a piece of shit. So let's see. Let's read about his manifesto. Oh God. Rodger emailed his 107,000 word manifesto, My Twisted World, the Story of Elliot Rodger, to 34 people, including his therapist. He had a therapist? His therapist, his parents, and other family, former teachers, and childhood friends. In it, he said he'd originally sought to carry out an attack on Halloween of 2013, but reconsidered because he thought there would be too many police about. I mean, what does that matter? Your plan is to shoot yourself. You can't die by cop like everybody else is. In his last YouTube video, Elliot Rodger's Retribution, he complained of being rejected by women and envying sexually active men, and described his planned attack and the motives behind it. In the video, he says, "Tomorrow is the day of retribution, the day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you. For the last 8 years of my life, ever since I hit puberty, I've been forced to endure an existence of loneliness, rejection, and unfulfilled desires, all because girls have never been attracted to me. Girls give their affection and sex and love to other men, but never to me. I'm 22 years old and I'm still a virgin. I've never even kissed a girl. I've been through college for 2.5 years, more than that actually, and I'm still a virgin. It has been very torturous. College is the time when everyone experiences those things such as sex and fun and pleasure. Within those years, I've had to rot in loneliness. It's not fair. Young girls have never been attracted to me. Oh, you girls, not young girls. Sorry, I wouldn't want to paint him in the wrong light. You girls have never been attracted to me. I don't know why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it. It's an injustice, a crime, because I don't know what you don't see in me. I'm the perfect guy, and yet you throw yourselves at these obnoxious men instead of me, the supreme gentleman. Give me a moment. Give me just a second here. He just detailed exactly how much he hates women and is going to kill them. And then he proceeds to say that he's the perfect guy. Like, there is a mental disconnect there. He does not see how he is being perceived at all. So this guy, is there a picture of this dummy? This guy, to be fair, is not a straight up uggo. You know, he is a normal looking dude. Yeah, I think he's of mixed race. You know, he's not gross. Oh, look at the cheekbones on this fella. He's not disgusting. So what that says to me is that it's not his looks that are pushing these women away, or at least not every woman away. It's the way he behaves. It's the way he acts. It's the way he talks. He is obviously a huge fucking asshole that doesn't deserve love because all he spews is hate and grossness and disgustingness. And throughout his his 8 years of torture or whatever, he never realized that. And that's why he went on to do this and to feel as rejected as he did, because he never just learned that, like, hey, bro, just like change the way you are, because the way you are is not appealing to men or women. I don't think he had any male friends either. This dude sucks. He wrote in My Twisted World that being of mixed race made him different from the normal fully white kids. On one online forum, he said that he opposed interracial dating and made several racist posts regarding African American, Hispanic, South Asian, and East Asian people, stating that seeing men of these ethnic groups socializing with white women makes you want to quit life. In one online post, Roger wrote, "Full Asian men are disgustingly ugly and white girls would never go for you. You're just butthurt that you were born as an Asian piece of shit, so you lash out by linking these fake pictures. You even admit that you wish you were half white. You'll never be half white, and you'll never fulfill your dream of marrying a white woman. I suggest you jump off a bridge." Jesus. This is the way this dude talks. This is the way this dude thinks. At 22 and under, he was a young idiot. A young hypocritical idiot. Like, what are you? You're Asian. What are you talking about? Why are you being racist? I mean, this dude obviously his mental health was not at 100%. You know, I don't know what he had. I don't know what he would have been diagnosed with. What his therapist was saying to him, it wasn't working. You know, how did this get carried out? If he emailed this to his therapist and his therapist has a duty to act, well, you know what? It takes a long time to read 137 pages. You know, if he didn't say, "I'm going to kill all y'all" until the last page, I can't blame it on the therapist, you know? Yikes. You know, I'm not trying to make light of the victims of his or any of these other incels dudes' attacks at all. It's truly a terrible and disgusting thing what these guys do. They're vile, they're evil, they're awful, I just want to show that by calling them big dummies throughout the course of this episode. So he went on to attack several people with his manifesto, and he's not the only dude who's done this. I don't think. I'm pretty sure that that there are several people who have committed mass murders and refer to themselves as incels. You know what's super interesting that I looked up earlier? Just for reference, when I'm looking these up, I'm kind of just typing in topics and pulling up links that I think would be interesting to read. I haven't read them before the show. I've maybe looked at the Wikipedia article for incels before, but I definitely didn't read through the whole thing. I'm lazy. So all of these articles that I have up right now are just things that I have brought up, including this one. Why incels love and hate Ted Bundy. Who is Chad Bundy? Why the incel community hates and celebrates Ted Bundy. So Ted Bundy, this dude, murderer, serial killer, killed dozens of women, a couple dozen women, in the 70s, I believe. There was a movie about him. There was a documentary about him. You can find out about Ted Bundy. So these incels, Ted Bundy focused on women. I believe he mostly killed women. He may have killed a couple of men. He mostly killed women. So I assume that all these murderous fucking incels zero in on Ted Bundy because of his, contribution to the cause or whatever. So let's read through this article. Let's see. This is last month. This article was written on Oxygen.com by Dorian Giger on April 19th, 2019. This is last month. Netflix purchased Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, a biopic of the serial killer Ted Bundy starring Zac Efron for $9 million. But since Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile premiered at Sundance Film Festival in January, it's been criticized for romanticizing a hot serial killer. But amongst the chorus of cinephiles criticizing the biopic is a surprising demographic, Reddit's incel community. Short for involuntary celibate, we already know that. Incited by the release of the docuseries and the upcoming wide release of the film, incels have stormed the subreddit to offer their own sexist takes on Bundy's bloody legacy. Some incels praise him, others revile him, and they are definitely using the way women note Bundy's good looks as a pillar to support their misogynistic worldviews. Daily reminder that murder maxing is a proven way of getting girls to want you more, wrote one user. This is humanity. What? Am I gonna have to look all this shit up? What is murder maxing? Let's find out real quick. There's a murder max hashtag. Murder max Yamaha Star VMAX. I don't think that's it. Am I gonna get put on a list for looking all this shit up? I can't find out what murder maxing is. It's not a wide enough term to be described. Maybe they'll describe it here in this article. Cause I don't know what the fuck that means. It sounds bad. Doesn't sound good. Murder maxing. Another comment reads, "Ever since I know the true nature of women and how they would literally suck a serial killer's cock, I cannot help but despise them. Fucking savage animals. I will never marry, hire, or trust a woman ever." Yikes. But incels don't just shun women. They also loathe handsome, charismatic, and popular men whose good looks allow them to lead happy, satisfying lives. They call them Chads. Zac Efron fits the description, but does Ted Bundy? Was the real Ted Bundy a Chad? Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Bundy broadly fits the incel community's sophomoric, one-dimensional, and self-serving definition of a Chad. Scott Bond, a criminologist, author of Why We Love Serial Killers, told Oxygen. However, Bundy's true motivations were much darker and far more sinister than that of a Chad. Bundy was motivated by power and control, that is, the need to dominate his victim, Bond added. But Tim Squirrel, a dark web researcher and PhD candidate in science and technology studies at the University of Edinburgh, Scotland, disagreed. It's difficult to classify Ted Bundy as a Chad. What is happening? There are like intellectuals discussing if Ted Bundy qualifies as a Chad or like an incel, or what is this guy? What category can we place him in? I mean, serial killer isn't enough. You know, a male isn't enough. We gotta narrow this down. It's just so silly to me. These dudes, PhDs, are being like, was this serial killer, this mass murderer, a Chad? I don't understand. It says it's difficult to classify Ted Bundy as a Chad because to do so necessarily buys into the incel conceptualization of the world as a place where your life outcomes are predetermined by your appearance, Squirrel said to Oxygen.com. Okay, that was nice. He was like, it's hard to call him a Chad because everything that these dummies say is bullshit and none of it matters. So I don't really even want to live in that worldview where I can describe Ted Bundy as a Chad or not. It doesn't make any sense because it doesn't fucking matter, you weirdos. But to take it from the point of view of the incels, some of them say he was necessarily a Chad because of his ability to charm women before murdering them. He mused. Others say that he was a Chad at the time, but would be an incel today because Tinder and other changes in dating have meant that the bar is much higher for what is considered average amongst men. To put it mildly, it's an odd dichotomy. Okay. I barely even want to address this. This is so stupid. Was this dude a Chad or not? I guess by the definition, I would be a Chad. Because I'm extremely good looking. I'm affluent. I have a job. I have a wife. Women like me in general. And I can get as much sex as my wife will allow, you know? So I guess it's me and Ted Bundy. We're both Chads. We're the same, bro. Me and old Teddy. Best Chad buds. He murdered women, like a lot of them. And they're on the fence on whether he's on their side or not, or whatever. Goodness gracious. Reddit's misogynist incel community is upset about Zac Efron's serial killer movie. So they're mad at the movie, but were they mad at Zephron or Ted Bundy themselves? I guess so, because they're mad about everything, because they're all backed up. They need to release. Would it be wild to go into an incel community on Reddit? Would it be wild? On Reddit, the main incel thread, I believe, was banned. They're no longer allowed to be speaking that nonsense on the platform, which is nice. But that, of course, doesn't mean that they're gone. I mean, there are white supremacists on Reddit. You know, the platform allows them to kind of hide in plain sight, I believe. So let's try to find one. And let's try to see what these wackos are saying. Oh, look, it's the Joker. And I think they really empathize with the Joker, which is really interesting. I like that movie. I thought it was a pretty good depiction of a man devolving into lunacy. You know, it was kind of a pretty good serial killer movie, you know, to kind of help you see why someone would be that way and commit murders rampantly. But it wasn't a very good Joker movie. Once again, I'm a big fan of superheroes. Batman is one of my favorite characters of all time, and his main villain is the Joker, and the Joker is an unhinged, crazy person who dresses like a clown and commits crazy, ridiculous crimes in the fictional place of Gotham City. And he's a criminal mastermind, and he's a genius, and he has massive amounts of wealth that he uses frivolously to buy squirting flowers on his shirt that are filled with acid and stuff like that. What fun guy, the Joker. What I didn't like about that movie is that it wasn't a supervillain. It was kind of just a regular dude who kind of fell ass backwards into killing people and into raising like a movement or whatever. And so for incels to see that and celebrate him getting to the end and wearing this suit and you know leading a revolution or whatever they think that it was that he was doing, it's weird. It's really weird. It's really weird what some movies mean to some people. You know, I don't think I'd ever go as far as to say that that violent movies incite violence. You know, because I don't think that's true. But I do think that a certain type of individual can go see a movie and start thinking more deeply about committing violence. You know, just because they identify so deeply with a character who incited violence in the story. Just like I was talking about with the Punisher last week and the police that identify with him. So yeah, let's go into an incel community and see what these weirdos are talking about. It says that there were a number of other incel Reddits that got banned, including misogyny, Incelistan, and white liberation. Yeah, it's funny how it's just like it's just peanut butter and chocolate, racism and bigotry against women. They just go together, like a fine mesh. Let's see here. The new iterations involve boards like r/community cells, r/truest cell, and r/proud male feminists. Some are only a few weeks old, so who knows how many others have been popping up recently. This is from an article at goat.com, written by Tess Courtney in November of 2019. So if I were to go on Reddit and look up r/proud male feminist, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm being put on the list or if my internet is just currently dropping. But it's not letting me pull up r/proud male feminists. My internet is dropping out. Just to go back to the Ted Bundy as a Chad and Zac Efron as a Chad and and incels think about these fictional or not fictional but these interpretations of people being Chads. This is a different article from Insider.com about the Ted Bundy movie, written by Jacob Shamsian. Sorry, sir. On January 31st of 2019. I believe this is before the movie came out. It says, they see Zac Efron and Ted Bundy as the distillation of everything they hate. A Chad playing a Chad. Ted Bundy is a Chad, one Reddit incel wrote in reaction to Netflix's pleas to stop calling Ted Bundy hot. Isn't it disgusting how being an evil person will make people and women love you? I hate them with all my soul, wrote another. Bundy was famously charismatic, wooing dozens of girls and young women before raping and killing them. He also used his interpersonal skills to try to attract public support when he stood trial in 1979. The debate over Extremely Wicked is whether the movie sufficiently challenges its subject's charms or falls away to them. The conversation about Bundy has been playing out in a few different threads in the r/braincells subreddit, where the incel community migrated after the r/incels subreddit was banned in November 2017 for inciting violence against women. Bundy apparently has long drawn the ire of the incel community. Many incels believe he's an example of what they dub the halo effect, the belief that good looks determine one's quality of life. The halo effect. If you're hot, then they'll love you, I guess is what they think. A popular thread from 7 months ago complains that he only got away with his crimes because he was attractive. Another popular thread from 3 months ago expressed jealousy that women found his appearance pleasing. Some users are also frustrated that incels are blamed for killing women, like Ellie Roger and Alec Minassian have both been embraced by the community, while Chads like Bundy aren't despised as a group. Many members aren't distinguishing between Extremely Wicked, starring Efron, and Netflix documentary project about Bundy, Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy tapes. Both were directed by the same person, Joe Berlinger. But that hasn't stopped them from getting angry at both. So angry about so many things that don't concern them. And it's interesting, the halo effect. I've hit an hour. Talking about incels for an hour. Is this a waste of time? I'm talking about incels for an hour. What am I doing with my life? Okay. As my internet struggles to return, I will say that I don't know what to do about these dudes. You know, I said earlier that I think that they should focus their attention on more important things than just sex or just women or just their relationships or whatever. But I mean, how do you get them to do that, right? What do you do about a community of people who think that they're being prosecuted when they absolutely are not? I don't know. Do we round them up? I mean, some of them haven't committed crimes. Some of them are just 14-year-olds with a laptop, who don't know what they're doing or what they're saying, and haven't had a real conversation with a woman ever because they don't talk to their moms. you know, what do you do about these dudes? Is it parenting? Because that's kind of where I'm leaning. And obviously a lot of these dudes are out of their parents' control by the point where they start really doing damage. But at the same time, me and my wife are thinking about having kids soon, and this is the kind of stuff that I think about. I don't necessarily focus on them being babies. I think about them becoming people and the kind of person that I not only want to raise, but to want to have in my life for the end of time. And I kind of have to build that person as a future father or whatever, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be one of these fucking guys. I refuse to have a son that or a daughter that thinks this way. In any way, shape, or form. Okay, r/brain cells has been banned from Reddit. That's great. I think I'm actually not going to look at what these guys are saying. We can continue talking about parenting. So I'm not a parent. I don't have any children right now. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I don't know what it's like to actually raise a person. I've raised a dog. He's pretty cool. But in thinking about raising a child into a functioning member of society, I think it's pretty important to not only talk to your kids about sex and relationships pretty early on. You got to do it right as puberty's hitting. Basically, you have to. But even before that and after that is exposing them to the opposite gender in a healthy way. I think what happens a lot is that little boys and little girls, they're separated a lot. They don't interact with each other as much as they could be, because parents consider them to be different, and they are different, but that those differences don't have to mean that they can't interact or can't have meaningful relationships with each other. And even aside from that fact, I think the discussions about the way that the world works between men and women in America kind of has to happen at an earlier age. You have to talk to them about how they're going to treat people and how they want to be treated as they're growing up. Just in terms of making a good kid, not let alone making a good kid who makes good decisions and doesn't fall into the trap of of joining a group like the incels or like a cult. You know, you don't want your kid to fall for any bullshit crap like that ever, right? So the best way to do that is to inform them about these kinds of things happening and how dangerous and damaging they can be before they even get a chance to be accepted into a group like that. It kind of amazes me how many people fall for cults. Like every time it happens, I'm like, what? Why would you do anything like that? And it's just because they're more susceptible to that kind of damage, whether it's from past trauma or whatever, you know. So I think having conversations about what a healthy relationship is like before your kid starts dating is good to have. And I don't know that a lot of these incel dudes ever had that conversation. I don't know that I ever had that conversation necessarily. You know, my parents are great parents. But I think if they had sat me down and told me that, like, hey, you shouldn't be expecting sex right now, you're 15. I think that would have been nice, you know. But at the same time, I wasn't opening up about any of that stuff. That was all in Andre's head, you know. It was all big brain stuff. I wasn't opening up to anyone about my frustrations. But these dudes are keeping it inside and then only opening up to people on the internet who feel the same way as them. I think that breeds a lot of nastiness. So talk to your kids, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, because I'd like to see a lot less incels in the world, as I'm sure you would as well. And incels, don't you want to be there to be less of you, you know? Wouldn't it be better if you guys were like cooler with women and everybody, and you could have your meaningful relationships, just like all of us hot ass, sexy ass Chads? I mean, you're so jealous. You're so jealous of everyone and everything that is making you angry. And if you maybe just conform a little bit, I don't know. I'm gonna, a big dum dum here. You know, it's Andre in the building. All right, I think that's gonna be it for this episode. I certainly learned a fair amount about incels today. Although not much more than I already knew, I guess. I think that the psychology there is pretty even across the board for all of them. It's kind of just a feeling of dejection and sadness that builds up to becoming dark and twisted thoughts that you keep expelling on the internet to a supportful group that can snowball into horrible acts of terrorism and racism and sexism. Incels are big yikes for me, straight up. But hopefully there's hope. So if you learned something about incels today, let me know. Hit like on the video. If there's something you think I should know about incels, leave a comment down below. Let me know what I didn't find out, what I didn't let you know. And if you've got big ideas on how to put these fools to rest, let me know about that too. If you're a parent and you're worried about this, I can't really help you, but let me know regardless. Let's have a dialogue in the comments down below on YouTube. You can subscribe to this podcast in audio form or video form. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Google Podcasts. I'm working to get on iTunes. That should be up by the time this episode is up. Go there. Follow me. I'm at Andre Morton Jr. on Instagram and Twitter. I'm a comedian. I'm part of Deaf Puppies comedy group. Follow us. I am a podcaster. I'm a co-host of the Waltz Vault podcast. It's a Disney podcast where we talk about Disney movies. It's very fun and silly. Go check that out at the Waltz Vault pod. And that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you and I love you. And I know more today than I did yesterday. Bye.